All right, it's 2 o'clock. I'm going to ask everybody if they will take a seat, and we'll go ahead and try to get started. Try to stay on time. And Bailey said if we finish early, it would be okay with her. So we'll try to stay on track. Will you say a prayer for us? All right. Well, good afternoon again. I'd like to welcome everybody here. We're going to start with prayer. I'm going to ask Representative Mathis if he'll open in prayer for us. What's your number? 23?
23. Let's pray. You ready? 23.
Yes, sir.
Let's pray. Father, thank you for today. Thank you for this beautiful day. Just thank you for everyone here. Watch over their families. Watch over as we travel back. Help us to make good decisions on this committee meeting today. For it's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. First, I'd just like to thank the members of the committee. We've had 2 meetings so far. This is our 3rd and final meeting. I think we've uncovered quite a bit of fraud and abuse, and today would like to look at possible solutions to those problems. But one other issue, and Chairman Powell has talked about quite a bit, and that's consumer protection. And that's a big issue as well. And I've got a video that was played on one of the local news channels up here made, and I'd like to run that video for everybody, or that video for everybody. Got a voice.
The state's Consumer Protection Division says DD Auto Brokers, which operates out of this building, has more than 20 complaints and is now under a statewide investigation. Shadeja Johnson made a huge mistake when she test drove this 2013 Honda Ridgeline. She fell in love.
You loved the car.
I did.
And you were like, I'm buying this car.
Yeah.
It was her first car, and for $6,400, her first lesson about everything that can go wrong with a car sale. Her mom, Latrice, found it on Facebook Marketplace.
And seen a Honda with great mileage, and I was like, oh God, this is the right thing.
It was so wrong for so many reasons. For one, the ad shows the mileage just under 154,000. But didn't show a vehicle identification number, or VIN, which they could have used to pull the Carfax. The night of the purchase, they got a check engine light. The next day, they were at a mechanic they'd used before.
And he was like, the gauge is reading on here. He was like, when you just bought this car? I said, literally, yesterday. And he said,
When the mechanic said the truck needed 2 catalytic converters, Mom blew a gasket. She called the man who sold her the car, Dennis S. Lewis, with DD Auto Brokers. You're not Dennis, are you?
Who?
Dennis?
He's not here.
Latrice and her daughter say this is Dennis, although he denied it.
he said, no, take it to my mechanic. Gave me the address to his mechanic.
Here's where they went, to a small shop in Lithonia, where the mechanic confirmed the problem and revealed a bigger one. Latrice took a picture of his scanner, and in the upper right corner it shows 153,000 miles. But when the mechanic pulled the Carfax, Mom took a picture worth 285,000 words, or in this case, miles.
So I'm nudging my mom. I'm like, do you see when they said they did the emissions test?
Yep. They unknowingly bought a car with over 285,000 miles. Latrice called Mr. Lewis ready for a fight.
He said, oh, just bring it back tomorrow. I'll give you your money back because I don't want no problems. I said,
Just like that?
Just like that.
Hard to believe, but he did take it back, and he gave Latrice a $6,400 refund.
Everything was refunded, because we tried to do everything straight,
This is Mr. Lewis, although he claims to be Dennis Lewis's brother and business partner, David. He may be, but here he is compared to a mugshot of Dennis S. Lewis when he got arrested on a misdemeanor in 2023. We couldn't find court records showing the outcome, but finding either Lewis wasn't easy.
Yeah, it's just one car dealership after another.
We started by going to Didi Auto Broker's business address. It's a small office building in Peachtree Corners with dozens of tiny offices that have one thing in common: cars. So you've got Didi Auto Brokers over here, but this building is full of auto brokers. You've got one here, you've got one here, you've got one here. Peachtree Corners city officials say this one building is zoned for small auto brokers who are required by Georgia law to have an office. The city prohibits brokers from keeping cars there, but they are. For the next 2 weeks, we saw people taking interior and exterior pictures of cars, and every time we came back, the cars were someplace else.
Well, what happens is your parking lot is always half full with cars, and they're changing every few days,
Joe Fabiano is a business owner who works across the street.
and they're not leasing or paying for space to operate their business. That seems illegal to me.
It's against city ordinance, but brokers are finding space anywhere they can, even in nearby shopping centers. That's where we found the Johnson's pickup truck. It was down the street in the Bolero Bowling Alley parking lot. We matched the VIN, and guess what? It's back on Facebook Marketplace with the same mileage. It's listed under the name Hassan Mera, along with 21 other cars and trucks. We found 9 of them, got the VINs, and Carfax agreed to run the reports. Out of 9 cars, 5 had major mileage discrepancies. Some, like this Lexus and this Honda Pilot, were off by 135,000 miles or more. With numbers in hand, we went back to the auto brokers complex, and we couldn't believe it. The cars were gone. Coincidentally, Peachtree Corners code enforcement cracked down and threatened to tow them all. But where did they go?
And here is that ridge line.
We found the Johnson's Honda Ridgeline and some of the other cars. They moved to a small shopping center on Covington Highway near Decatur. You're not Hassan. Are you Hassan?
Hey, give us a minute, please.
Are you Hassan?
Give us a minute, man.
Not a warm welcome, but that's where we found the man who says he is Dennis Lewis's business partner, David.
So who is Hassan Mara?
It's one of those boys who post cards online.
So he's one of your employees.
He's not the employee. He's the postcards for people. That's all. That's what he does.
He agreed the VINs should be listed in the ads and explained that sometimes the mileage is off if they swap out an engine.
But usually when customer come out, you have to explain to them that the mileage is not right. You got to explain it to them. But what they need to do, they need to post it online and says the mileage. I understand where you're coming from.
David Lewis says he removed the ads for the Honda Ridgeline and the Lexus, and he promised to correct other mileage discrepancies.
He did not list the VIN on any of these ads.
It's going to list them, trust me.
But after we left, Hassan Mera, the worker listing the cars, blocked me on Facebook. And then he relisted them under a new name, Kelvin J. Coker. Latrice and her daughter say this is why they are speaking out, to keep others from making the same mistake.
You realize now, looking back, if you had pulled the Carfax and taken it to a mechanic first,
Yes.
Right.
you guys wouldn't have been in this position.
Yes.
Right.
And you're never going to do that again.
Never.
The city of Peachtree Corners is taking this seriously. The last remaining car in the parking lot here has a tow sticker on it, and we can say this: we don't know who all of these cars belong to, but we know one thing: the Honda Ridgeline that was advertised on Facebook is no longer up for sale. On Better Call Harry, Atlanta News First investigates.
So today's the day.
All right, I thought that would be good to start the meeting. Like I say, Chairman Powell has mentioned several times about consumer protection. One of the answers, the VIN absolutely needs to be listed on any item for sale, any used car for sure. But the meeting today, what I'd like to do, and we've got I think just about everybody who has been at our previous meetings to come back, and what I've asked. I want to talk about solutions. If you could do 3 things, list them in order. If 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever it is, the low-hanging fruit. What can we do to move the needle to help consumer protection, the fraud, the abuse. Sergeant Barber laid out so well in the very first meeting all the stuff that the law enforcement's seeing with the tops and dealer tags, and then Todd Jones, the ones that are becoming dealers that never intend to sell a car. So huge issues. So we've going to try to stay on schedule today. Greg Parker, who was one of the dealers that spoke last at the meeting last time, he was going to be, but he's out of town and cannot make it. So we're going to skip him, and I'm going to go to Matt Baldry. He's the E-Commerce Auto Dealer Association. Would ask him to come to the podium and help us address these issues with recommendations to help fix the problem.
Well, thank you, Chairman Powell, and thank you for the committee. I appreciate your work. And, representing Georgia E-Commerce Auto Dealers, I want to thank you guys. We are glad to be a part of this. We're here to help. We are not here to hurt. We're here to offer the solutions that we need, all of us. None of us want fraud. I don't want fraud in my buildings. I know none of the dealers, such as Kim with Independence, want fraud. So we're hoping that we can really help make some moves. It really, when you look at this, and again, with my background of teaching classes and being in the business myself, it's the worst thing. I hate to see it, and I definitely want to see some reform go on with this. Unfortunately, fraud is fraud. So whether it's an e-commerce dealer, it's an independent, it's a person making tags in their backyard, it happens. And instead of me spending much time, because I know we're busy and you have a lot of people, I'd like to really skip. We already know about office size, and we don't want to see office size happen. We already know hours and things like that. But what I'd like to do is talk about what you want to talk about. Let's talk about some solutions that we can do. So I put on the right-hand side, if you look at it, this Georgia dealer tag reform package with ideas. Some of them will be popular, some of them won't. But basically, last night I was with Micah, and Micah and I had a chance to talk to a couple state police. One of them may be here after his check-in. He'd like to come talk to the issue. He is actually assigned to DeKalb, Fulton, and Gwinnett, and the fraud that he sees on fake tags is it's awful. It really is. And a lot of these are not coming through e-commerce, not coming through independents. They're coming from individuals that are basically practicing fraud. They are stickers over plates. They are fake metal plates. And one of the things that I actually did to include in here for you guys was a picture, some pictures that y'all have in your package. I did press, unfortunately I don't have them for you guys, but for this showing some different things, such as a dealer I was behind. I'm kind of copying off Todd, Chris, from last time, right? I was behind that was driving a Rolls Royce with a test drive tag on it. And this is a small independent located in Lawrenceville, Georgia, that's using test drive, not even using dealer tags to transport his vehicles. Underneath it, I found a company. It's called rebelcar.fr. They're out of probably France. And those particular guys, if you have 240 euro, they'll go ahead and make you a metal plate, and they'll copy any one you want. They could drive down the street and copy my XBP081 is one of my dealer tags. They could copy that one, send it in. I would never, ever know that they made that tag. They'll make them exact with the barcodes on them. They look identical. And then, of course, you're not going to drive a tag without having an inspection, a registration sticker on it. They'll make you the registration sticker for 80 euro also. And they'll make it any color you want. So if next year's green, they'll make it green. So this is just some of the fraud that we're facing. The next page after that, you can see another company called usdealerplate.com. They'll go ahead and make you a tops. So this company here for $239 will make you a tops. Now, again, they're doing these with laser printers and making them look like the tags that we have. Again, total fraud. The officers that I met with last night, and I've got tons of pictures. I just want to give you guys a couple examples. This particular vehicle right here, this XXM 585 that y'all see in your package, he's pulled this off of 4 cars. Again, not e-commerce dealers. These are fraudulent made tags that someone has made and they're selling them. So it's not all us, but what can we do to fix it and assist? And that's really where this reform package comes in. So We looked at a few different things. Section 1, the problem overview, the two state troopers, and I showed you that XXM 585. And everyone was counterfeit tag, either purchased online or made by a local vendor as a vanity, not for use tag. The legitimate dealer whose number was copied may not even know that he actually had this tag made and someone's driving on his tag, because you can make this tag so easily. You just have to find one and copy it. So the goal, let's create a verification system that instantly identifies counterfeits and sets reasonable time of use limits for dealer plates to prevent TAVT avoidance. Only allow verified dealers to utilize dealer tags with a time limit as to how long a particular tag can be on a dealer-owned vehicle. Enact legislation that people desiring to be a dealer in Georgia must live within 50 miles of the border of Georgia, the surrounding states. Now, I realize we have Carvana. I realize we have some big independents that come into town. I realize that we have some e-commerce dealers that, sell hundreds of cars and they're legitimate. That would be a board decision. They have the effect now with HB 630 to work out whatever the rules are. They could look at it at their discretion, have this person come in. So in other words, not a shell company like someone coming out of New York, a one-man band that's trying to get his dealer's license so that he can go ahead and run a fraud scheme. But legitimate dealers, the board could actually take a look at, and I think Chris would be able to do that fairly easily, determine if these are somebody that you want in our state representing a dealer or not. So again, by laying that border out, because again, if you're right over the border and you have an office in Georgia or a car lot and you're selling vehicles and you're legal, that should be fine. But if you're getting way out of the zone, why can't you get it in your own state? Why isn't New York people getting dealer licenses in New York? I can tell you, my general manager, Denise, she gets on an average 4 calls a day from Ohio, Texas, New York, New Jersey, Ohio, and Maryland saying, I want to get a dealer's license in Georgia, and I want to get an office in Georgia. Again, why do these people need it? I think we have the ability to not harm the small e-commerce dealer, but to affect change where we have problems and get rid of the people that are a problem. So here's some on Section 2. 3 simple steps to fix counterfeit tag solution. By the way, I don't see Amy here today, but I think that the Giada did a fantastic job of tightening down the regulations on the TOPS tags. It's going to take a little while for that to filter through because people have had, like Friedrich brought in, they still have stacks of tags to work through, but when those tags get worked through and they're not around anymore and someone applies and they can't get more than their 50 allotment, that should watch us curb a lot of this. And when talking to the state police last night, they said that's going to have a major effect at some level. They said there's still going to be the people that are going to make them with their laser printer at home that make them look like our tags, have a printer print the little gold seal. So we have to look at different areas, and I have some of that to talk about too. So here's one of the counterfeit tag solutions. This is for dealer tags where people drive on dealer tags. You could do a secure serial sticker. Each dealer plate receives a state-issued validation sticker with a unique serial number, kind of like, I'm going to say a $50 bill now, Mr. Corbett. So we talked about $100 bills. He said he hasn't seen one. I haven't seen one from my wife either.
Let me tell you
long
this.
time. But it's almost like on a dollar bill where you put that security sticker in there. So counterfeit people like this company in France, when they produce one, they're able to be read by the plate readers. So that would be something that we could look at. Instant verification police or the ALPR systems that we have would query the plate and serial against DOR's registry. And if the numbers don't match, it flags as possible counterfeit. And 48-hour dealer proof window. So if the plate is seized by DOR or state policeman or local, if verified, the plate's returned within 24 hours. But a notice goes out to the dealer and says, hey, it looks like you have a fraudulent tag floating around. Maybe it was stolen. I mean, a lot of these tags, I can tell you, when I was early on, when I was selling cars at my smaller car lot, I probably had 3 or 4 dealer tags stolen over the time that I had it. Or we had magnets on the back of the tags. We learned our lesson from that. If you hit a bump hard enough, your dealer tag's sitting on the side of the road, and they always turn those in, right, Kim? Always. You give them back. You never get them back. They're gone, and they're used in these commissions of crime. So again, the result would be counterfeits are caught immediately while lawful dealers keep operating uninterrupted. Section 3, where we talk about prevent dealer tags from becoming permanent plates. I know this has been a concern of the Department of Revenue, and when Todd was showing the pictures, I think Friedrich will talk a little bit about why I don't think it's happening as much as you think with e-commerce dealers. But again, fraud is fraud, and there's fraudsters are going to become fraudsters. They're going to find a way to continue to circumvent the system. But prevent dealer tags from becoming permanent plates. Georgia law does allow personal use by a dealer or employee if properly insured, and they can use those, but they weren't ever meant, I don't think, to be permanent tax-free ownership. So, for example, an independent dealer I did business with just last week bought a Tesla X 9 months, and this is an independent dealer. 9 months ago, his wife loves it and said she's not giving it up. He has not registered it, and he's driving it on a dealer tag. She doesn't have any intention of giving it up. So it happens with all of it. All dealers are using these in a way that they shouldn't be. So I named this the 369 rule, where basically after 3 months, there would be the system would trigger a soft reminder. In other words, the dealer would go ahead and log in and show where they're using that dealer tag. And the reminder would come back and confirm that vehicle is still for sale. At 6 months, there's a mandatory update where they have to upload proof of listing, the repair, or the insurance because they're driving on that dealer tag. And at 9 months, they're presumed misuse, and the title, they should title and pay the TAVT or show strong documentation as to why that car hasn't turned. As a dealer and being in this business a long time, sometimes it takes a little while to sell a car, but if you're not turning your car in 9 months, then you have a problem. And that's facts are facts. So the active sale condition, personal use under 4238 is allowed only while the vehicle is bona fide inventory and actively for sale, and when marketing stops, the TAVT should be paid. How does the system know? The dealer maintains a monthly digital log with tag number, VIN, date on, date off, and the purpose. And the ALPR readers can confirm continuous use. Missing date off and repeated reads trigger an automatic flag. So that's something that can be done. Section 4, tag to tag person accountability. And even in my dealership, my wife, myself, my son are all on the tags, on the insurance, but anybody else cannot drive on a dealer tag. Even when they come to test drive, one of us needs to be in the vehicle with that customer. So each dealer would file a roster listing of the owners or the officers and full-time employees authorized to operate on dealer plates, including photo, license number, and proof of insurance. We were talking about this earlier, Mr. Corbett. This is where this comes in. You see a lot of dealers that rent their tags or let people use them. This would tighten that down, because if they're not listed on the insurance or they're not listed as one of the drivers on that vehicle, if I owned a dealer, well, I do own, I wouldn't put somebody on and spend the extra money, because every person you add on to insurance makes your dealer tag insurance go up, and it's already very expensive. So it would eliminate a lot of these people that are selling access to the auctions and things like that by tightening just this down. So offers could query the roster instantly, and if the driver's not on file, it's unauthorized use. That would ban the tag renting and credential sales. Dealers may not lease or sell access to plates or auction credentials. Violations would carry fines, and I would make it plate suspension. I think part of the problem that we have is the fines for people that are committing fraud. If you're making $10,000 a month, do you think a $500 fine is going to make any difference to you? Same thing with an office, a 250 square foot office, right? If they're committing the crime, do you really think they're not going to go find a 1,000 square foot office and pay, a 250 square foot office and pay $1,000? They're going to do it. We need to attack the fraudsters, not the little people that are trying to stay in business. They're just getting going. This is their livelihood. They're working 2 jobs to support their family. Section 6, Section 5, residency and border proximity rule. I think we should look at legitimate, locally connected dealers operating in Georgia. Under this plan, any dealer who lives in a neighboring state and keeps their business within 50 miles of the Georgia border would hold a dealer's license without really petitioning the board. But if you're getting out of that role, then you should have more backup and reason to be here. Why aren't you getting a license in your location? Again, someone like Carvana, I understand that would be an exception for the board. A independent that's coming into town and they want to open 3 or 4 locations, but their main location is in Texas or wherever, that would be an exception to the board. But the person that is a one-man band that's coming here from New York to go ahead and get his dealer's license because he wants to fraudulently sell TOPS tags to illegals that are in New York driving along. As a matter of fact, the reason I bring that up, our conversation went that way last night with the state trooper, where he said the biggest thing that's happening with these TOPS tags, and he says as the inventory dwindles and HB 551 really kicks in, it'll slow it down. But the illegals in New York that don't have a license, they don't have anything, they still want to drive their cars, they're willing to pay up to $500 for a TOPS tag. That's what's happening. So and that's where, they're used naturally in commissions of crime and things like that, but a lot of it, they said, are going to illegals. And that's part of the problem where it is. So if we actually went through this and tightened down on who can get a dealer's license, I think it would help everybody to slow down a lot of the fraud. And then Section 6, APR IT technical brief, for our vendors, this is actually what they would have to put in place in order to make the system work. So Section 7, for all these things I proposed, I gave some statutory language that you all could look at and give to the AG's office to enact any of these that you might want to have become law. And in Section 8, I gave you basically a pilot program cost estimate so you could kind of see how much it would cost if it was launched in a few different locations. So again, solutions without going after a small dealer that's trying to feed his family. Any questions?
A couple. I want to get back to the video we had where they're using the parking lot to store their cars. And then we've heard from the Secretary of State's office when they show up at these office spaces, nobody's there. They make multiple trips out there. That's how do we fix that problem?
And you know, we had this conversation. I walked back and I actually called David Dove, who you know is our counsel from Troutman, and David was able to put in a paragraph that allows us to be compliance officers within the buildings to set hours where if DOR needs to come serve them, we can open up the office and let them in, and it's not a violation. We can let them in for surprise inspections. They don't need to tell us who they're there to represent. We just go open office doors, and that is allowed. And we actually I have 387 offices. All of those leases are signed, and if you want to come to any of my offices tomorrow and inspect them, you're welcome to. So we took a proactive stance and said, how do we fix this? Because again, if these dealers are working, let's say they work at Publix and they're on a schedule, they can't say, I'm going to be at office 11 to 4, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, because their schedule might change weekly. Or they might be working 2 jobs at night and all. So what it does is give us the ability to allow Chris's group, any of those inspectors, to not have to wait and not have to try and contact them 3 times to be able to get into the offices.
Part of they going to get in the office and nobody to talk to is how do you? Somebody needs to be there to answer questions.
Well, and I think the other thing you could do is allow us to open the office and have them on a Zoom call even, do something, because with what they're faced with today, and I know that I think we've lost, 3 inspectors in the past couple of weeks alone, for them to have to manage beauty and everything else and then say, okay, now you're going to go inspect these offices and you're going to check all this, I don't think it's going to happen. I think we need to put electronic things in place where even if it means an inspector calls them on a Zoom call. I mean, when someone commits an issue and they have to go in front of the board today, a lot of them don't go in anymore, right? You have a Zoom call where you put them on the screen and they're interviewed there. I think we need to start to look at digital options and ways that the world works today and create less of a workload on people that are already way overworked. And I think these are some of the ways that you could do it.
Okay, and I guess the young lady on the video, I mean, how does she contact somebody in that office? She made multiple attempts, and I mean, the newsroom finally had to.
I
track them
agree.
down
I
for
think
them.
all those listings should definitely have VIN numbers. I mean, that's ridiculous. That guy needs to go to jail. He doesn't need to be fined $500. You know, this is pure fraud, and it makes me sick. I think that again, we can have even on our doors. Because again, I'm trying to help with solutions for e-commerce dealers. We can put the phone number, contact management at this phone number, and we'll accept those calls. So, and in talking to all the guys that represent the Jakarta group that make up a bulk of probably 2,000 to 2,500 of these dealers that rent offices, we've all agreed that we'll put compliance people in place so that there'll be a voice. I think the other thing that you can look at is they did see cars, as I listened to that, and I've seen that a couple times, so this isn't my first time seeing that. The fact that neighbors saw cars rotating is a good thing. That means they're not parked there. That means they're bringing there, they're taking the pictures, they're doing what they're supposed to do legally. You're supposed to sell your vehicle where your license hangs. That's what's in the rules. Otherwise, you have the 3-day right of rescission rule. That's what that's written for. If you sell the vehicle somewhere other than where your license hangs, you can be fined for selling it other than where your license hangs. So vehicles should be there. They shouldn't be stored there overnight. I can tell you we don't allow it in any of our buildings. We have no cars you can go over there and see, and if anybody ever sees a picture, sees a car, they snap a picture if it's sitting there overnight, and we have it towed. We have contracts with the towing, and you're welcome to check on that. But We don't play that game. And I think, again, I have no problem helping enforce it through our Jakarta dealers that make up quite a few of the dealers. We're here to help. Listen, we're all here to make a living, to grow, to be able to support our families. Same goes with them. And that's really why we're here, fighting on behalf of those guys that they're trying to do the right thing. And again, if you go to an office, 800 offices, 900 offices, and you have 12 bad people, it makes it look like the whole building's bad. When it's the few bad apples that we really need to go after and say, this is fraud, period. It's not, you're a small dealer, you have a small office, you have office hours. This is fraud, let's shut it down. And any ideas that you guys have, again, we're proactive. I went with David, I told him this afternoon, come to our buildings, call Denise, he's got her phone number. We'll let you in the buildings, we can serve the notices, and we can notify him that it's there.
All right, I've got number 16.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So one of the pieces of a dealer license is it's pretty uniform. It's uniform with a standard set of requirements for all dealers. Something I learned throughout these two hearings previously is that the e-commerce dealer and the traditional dealer is vastly different. So my question is, do you think there would be value if you were to bifurcate those two licenses into a traditional dealer license and an e-commerce dealer license with a different set of requirements and standards for each business, number one? Number two, how difficult do you think that would be? And that may be a Chris question.
Yeah, well, I think we were on the same page because we've talked about this, right, Chris? Mm-hmm. We have no problem splitting the licenses. I think it's a good idea. And again, when it comes to the dealer tag usage, they don't need 20. Kim's Lot might need 20 dealer tags floating around. They might need 2 or 3, and that's where it goes back to where I talked about. They should have the driver's licenses to back it up. So if you have 3 dealer tags, then you better have 3 people that have licenses and 3 people, or 3 driver's license, and 3 people that are on that insurance policy representing that vehicle. So do I think I support it a whole lot, Friedrich? We 100%. I think that would be it would be fine. Mm-hmm. And we'd be glad to sit down and even create a team of all of us to help put that together to make it, so we all agree that it's something that should go through legislature easily. Absolutely.
All right. I don't see any further questions. Thank you for coming today. Next on the agenda is Fitz.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
With Classic Fitz. Engelman? Nope. All right, well, let's get down to Jason Reeves with the used car board. And tell us your name and who you're with and the magic wand we can fix all this with.
Good afternoon. I am Jason Reeves, chairman of the Motor Vehicle Licensing Board for, honestly, I can't remember how many years, but I've been in the car business associated my whole life. There are a lot of suggestions out there. One of the most important things I say is that we take it slow, and I think one of the easiest things that we can do immediately is propose legislation to split the licenses. That is almost mandatory. When we had a board meeting yesterday, and it would just make life easier if we were able to separate 2 different rules. I've got some suggestions in here that I'll pass around afterwards. The traditional type lot would be anyone that has storage or display of at least 5 vehicles. Or to accommodate the Carvanas and other large volume things, anyone that sells over 300 cars a year. And that basically means they would be a traditional type dealership that is a high volume or has the display lot out there. The place of business, the traditional lot would have mandatory the same way it does now. If we call it the e-commerce dealer, that could be determined. That could be discussed over the next several months, exactly what we want it to look like, and carve that out. Signage, landline phones, all the same. Surety bonds. I actually did a comparison of other states. Georgia is not the lowest, but it's pretty close to the lowest. And I would recommend going to $50,000, whether it's, doesn't matter what type of dealer. $35,000, the number of title issues that we see from the board, $35,000 typically may make one person whole, and that's it. So it's a race to whoever, when there is an issue, it's a race to whoever gets the bond first. And then the bond company would pay out for that. $50,000 isn't exactly a lot more money, but it is some. And I don't think insurance companies would be willing to go higher than that in most states. Inspections, that would be another key difference.
While you're talking about the bond, let me ask you a question.
I'm
A
sorry.
few years ago, I did something for a timber harvester's notification. They had to have a $5,000 surety bond to do business with the county if damage to the roads. But they come back, some of the lawyers said, instead of doing that, what if we get a letter of credit from a bank so that they will cover that, where they wouldn't have to buy so many bonds? Is that?
I think a statement of financial position
Could
there are
cover
states
that as
out
well.
there that actually require a statement of financial position to go along with your application
with the bond.
with a bond, and just in general for the licensing board.
Thank you.
Inspections, that's a place where I would carve out a key difference between the two. One of the things right now that we hear oftentimes from dealerships that are established is that it is unfair to them that the inspectors show up surprise, and it's like the health inspectors at a restaurant or something like that, right? It's, if you don't mind, I'm going to quiz. We have the privilege of having Thomas Rainey in the key with us, and you've got 11 locations?
That's correct.
11 locations scattered throughout South Georgia. Thomas, how many cars do you have on your lot at any given time?
About 700 to 800.
So 700 or 800, and something as simple as a buyer's guide, right? Customer goes in there and swipes the buyer's guide out. It's a lot harder to keep up with 750 cars on a surprise inspection than it is when you've got 3, 4, 5 cars out there. So we hear this often, and I think one of the key differences on the inspections needs to be that the board, if you are an e-commerce dealer, we send out a notice to them, and they have 10 days to show up at an inspection station, whether it's in Atlanta, Macon, or wherever that wound up being. But they have 10 days to show up for that inspection, and they are to bring all of their documents, a list of all of their sales in the last how many ever months could be determined, all cars purchased, all cars sold, because you can't get that type of information the same way you can from a traditional dealership that's open out there, and you can look out there and you can see that they've got 75 cars on their lot, so you can guess that they're selling 60 cars a month. With somebody that's an e-commerce dealer, if you didn't know, if it wasn't public record, no one would have any idea how many cars Carvana sells. Couldn't even imagine it. But the Department of Revenue obviously knows how many cars they sell, and I'm sure their software system tells them exactly how many cars they sell. So that's the key differences in the license to me. The issue with dealer tags is a little bit more complicated. There are so many ways to forge a dealer tag, but I think that everything respectfully that Matt proposed is almost impossible to enforce. It's, I'm sorry, Thomas, how many dealer tags do you have? Do you know?
Probably 60.
So 60, and I asked him earlier, he does not drive around on a dealer tag. They are used for test driving and transporting and things like that. They're not tied to cars. What would be more important, honestly, would be something like from the insurance companies, that when these people do get pulled over by law enforcement, some type of verifiable insurance. We have talked about this before. There is no software system out there that allows dealer insurance to report when it's been canceled. We need to, if Georgia mandated it for the insurance companies, then as a licensing board, as the Department of Revenue, you all could send a 30-day notice out and says you're your dealer tags are going to be revoked in 30 days unless you provide proof of insurance. I don't think it's an overly large issue, but as someone who drives on Georgia roads, I would like to know that other people are insured and not just everybody relying on my insurance. Finally, some type of very close relationship with the Department of Revenue. I know as long as I have been on the board, there has been back and forth access. When the inspectors go out, they really need to know how many cars are sold, particularly if we're talking about the e-commerce type dealers. It would be important that they could pull some type of query that would say, I know you sold 50 cars last month. Why did you bring me 7? If they showed up at a traditional lot, I know you sold 100 cars last month. Where are the deal jackets? You know, do you have 2 sets? Is one of them sitting over here for deals that you don't want us to see? Or are they, you know, whatever. So those would be my key recommendations. Temporary operating permits, I would say, let's try with what's out there. I know
With what 551 the bill that's passed last year, he said, give it some time.
Give it some time and let it see if the 50 tags. I know that for traditional dealerships, that can be a problem. Thomas is a great example. They opened a brand new location and they received 50 dealer tags. They probably sold 50 cars in the first 2 weeks. Now, they reached out to the Department of Revenue, got it all handled, but again, back to if you don't know that you've got to do that, I don't want to burden the dealerships any more than we already have with this. So those are my primary recommendations. Closer relationship with the Department of Revenue, access of sales records for the inspectors, getting the 2 different licenses is critical, very critical.
All right. And you have printouts with all those.
I have some of
that
it
you
printed out.
Pass out. I'd like to get one to Bailey, myself, and other members.
Sure.
If you've got that, it'd be great. Do we have any questions for Jason?
I just one thing. I want to add to Jason's real quick. I agree 100%.
Come to the microphone.
Yeah. Stay here. I agree 100% with him. Mine would not. My idea about the dealer licenses for the dealer tags would not work for someone like Thomas, but with a small dealer, it could. Just where if you're only giving them 3 tags, we should require them to have proof that driver's license, registration, and that they are on the insurance. So I just want to make sure I make it clear to the committee that I'm 100% with what he's saying, and I know Jacod is 100% with what he's saying. Thank you.
All right. I don't see any other questions. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. I think next let's bring up Sergeant Rick Barber with Chamonix Police Department. And I think you have a video presentation as well?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I feel like we're all kind of speaking the same language here, but I'm not going to tell these folks how to do their job. I'm just going to give you our insight from the law enforcement side, so hopefully no one throws any stones at us. But the last presentation, Representative Jones talked about air travel. I was trying to make a joke to say we're kind of ahead of it. I saw this coming down 400 the other day, but it's going to happen because this is what we're still continuing to see. The unaccountability for dealer tags. I don't know why Amazon has a dealer tag, but they're riding around with a dealer tag delivering packages. This is from a dealership. We have connections with the Department of Revenue agents. He saw this inside of a dealership where someone's selling temporary tags, temporary top reprints, Carfaxes, rented plates. They're renting out their dealer tags, auction purchase fees, auction sale fees, and a lost plate replacement. Again, this is some of the stuff that we see. Real quick on the last one, someone asked a question about the cars. Our question is the dealer making any money if you're driving around a dealership car for 6 months, 12 months, putting 100,000 miles on the car? How are you making money on that car riding around with a dealer tag? I get it. You want to drive it for a little bit. Your wife wants to borrow it, but what is she doing with the dealer tag on her car if she's not an employee? Just our questions that we have. Law enforcement is somewhat told if you stop a car with a fraudulent top tag or a dealer plate, you should impound that car because most of the time they don't have a current registration or insurance. So impound the car. If you want to charge them a forgery because you can prove they printed that top tag, by all means. If you stop someone that has a dealer tag, they're not supposed to have it. Most law enforcement officers are impounding the car, confiscating the plate, and mailing that with a copy of the report to the Department of Revenue for them to investigate. We understand the Department of Revenue is only so big, and they're probably slammed with the plates and reports coming in, but we'll address that here shortly. The duplicated tags continue on, as someone pointed out. I won't really touch on it too much, just kind of get through it. 2 cars with the same tag, same day, floating around. Paper, this is what officers are seeing. Personal cars, dealerships are printing copies of them and giving to folks.
And what's the fine for that? Somebody gets caught, is that a misdemeanor, $500
It's a
fine,
misdemeanor
slap on
fine.
the wrist, and you back in business the next
Correct.
day?
The hardest part is you're now flagging that tag on the LPRs, trying to track down the other cars that have the duplicated tag, but then you got to find the real tag and figure out who has that tag. So you may have 5 tags duplicated on different cars. You got to track down and figure out. Then you go to the dealership and, oh, I lost that tag. Well, you didn't know that tag's missing? No, we've got 70 tags in the box over here. And then now we're down to 10 tags. Where's those 60 tags at? There's no accountability for the tags. This one was on 2 different cars, registration, no insurance for 3 to 4 years. So imagine if one of these folks hit us, who's paying for the accident? We are, as citizens of the state. Talked about altered VINs. I'm not even going to get deep into that. It's just out of control. But a stolen Dodge Durango with altered VIN plates and it has the dealer tag on it floating around the city of Sandy Springs. These individuals went to the airport with a dealer tag, stole an Atlanta Falcons player Dodge Challenger, and then put it on the car. It would belong to CarMax, who didn't know the tag was missing. And this rode around for about 2 or 3 months until it's finally taken off the street. And it's not just about stolen cars, it's about the crime. These individuals took a dealer tag with a stolen car, went up to another state, and went on a crime spree with 2 stolen guns in their possession. And they both were convicted felons. Some suggestions: hard plates, we'd ask need to be stamped just for the raised portion to see that it's a stamp plate, not a photocopy that you talked about making one. I bought one on Etsy for $20. It looks legit. You can buy them on eBay for $15.
A hard plate?
A hard plate looks just like your dealer tag. And they'll even send you a sticker to put on there to give that little bit of raised feature to look like it's a sticker that got put on there. These folks they're just making them at their house. Tops, we'd ask to be a little bit bigger. I'm blind. I just had laser eye surgery last week, so if I close one eye, I'm not winking at you. I'm just trying to see with one eye. But it's hard to see from the car up to the top tag, not to mention the LPRs that are trying to read these tags going down the road. So make them bigger so we can see. I'm not going to harp on 2759 Delk Road. We talked earlier. It's just this is what we don't want to see when we pull in to ask them the questions. We want to see a butt in a seat to say, hey, please explain this to me. Why did you print these top tags? Can you show me the paperwork? Not, I'll get back to you in 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks we're on to something else. We want to talk right now. We want to see you. Great to let us in the office and show us the files, but I want to see someone's face that can be charged with the crime who did it. Not, well, it's my friend's cousin's business. Let me talk to him, and we'll get back to you in 2 months. Please understand, we know that not all of you are bad. We're trying to help out. The education part. We have asked questions of dealerships. A lot of dealerships, people don't understand the laws pertaining to temp tags, test drive tags, the full-time employees. We understand you want to take a car for a test drive. You can't ride around the test drive. You got to have something in place, which I'll talk about here in a second. We want to make sure the vehicle is in the dealer's inventory. It's not your personal car that you bought at the auction. It's your wife's car who wants to borrow it for a little while because she wants to pay the TABT. We got to pay that. You should have to pay it as well. Again, law enforcement, we teach throughout the state, from North Georgia to South Georgia and other states. Most of the officers don't understand what they can and can't enforce. The types of top tags we talked about, just the 4. We've seen every letter of the alphabet. An officer runs it, doesn't come back. We'll just let it float on down the road and not deal with it. There needs to be some education.
And speaking of that, you and I had that conversation last week when I had a call from the speaker's office. Somebody had called them down in my area, dealer selling fake tops. They didn't really know where to proceed. Call Secretary of State, Department of Revenue, how to proceed. So we definitely need better training.
We definitely want some mandatory training throughout the state. The VIN inspections, I kind of would like to see something towards North Carolina. You have to actually go to a VIN inspection station where an officer or someone does a full-on inspection of that car. We receive T22B inspection forms that have some fraudulent names with fraudulent information that the Department of Revenue doesn't have a way to check. They just accept it for what it is because their clerks don't have a way to cross-reference that. There should be a form that a sworn law enforcement officer signed and uploaded to the Department of Revenue so they can verify that an actual law enforcement officer inspected that car, not Colonel Turnip Seed is what we saw the other day. Doesn't work for that law enforcement agency. The phone number was wrong and so was the address. But that's, again, they can only go what they got.
Now, is that before they can get their car registered? They have to
Correct.
do that?
Yes, sir. If they have a car, they want to get an inspection done from another state, they got to get a title in Georgia, they have to do a VIN inspection, which is what a lot of the criminals are doing. They're creating fraudulent VINs, putting it on a car, driving to ABC PD. Officer Smith goes out there, looks at the VIN, signs off on it, and we just helped them register that fraudulent VIN vehicle because the officer doesn't know how to fully inspect that car. They're only going on the VIN number they see in the windshield. I looked up the licenses from the Secretary of State. There's a lot of licenses. They have their hands full. I see a lot of things like nursing, optometry, a plumber. The biggest thing is the used car motor vehicle dealers. I feel like that should be somewhat separate from them. Someone else should handle it, Department of Revenue, or at least work together, because you're having to ask one person who has it, who doesn't. Someone needs to hold all the records so we can go to that person and say, is this license legit? And we'll talk about a little bit of training. Some recommendations, we'll probably get some rocks thrown at us, but sales agent's licenses, finance agent, dealership license, and an e-agent. Maybe transferring some of the licenses back and forth between Department of Revenue so they have the access to it. We would like to see a sales agent, an individual who sells a car at a registered dealership has to apply for a sales agent license to the state, and they get a hard dealer plate. That is assigned to you and only you.
Now, some states require those 8 sales to go through background checks to be able to
Correct.
access that.
I got a couple information on that. I
Yeah.
checked states around to see what they have. If John Smith is a salesman, he wants to go for a test drive, that tag is registered to his dealership and to him. So if law enforcement runs it, we know we're going to ask John Smith, why was this car being driven down the road at 3 o'clock in the morning doing burglaries? He's got some explaining to do. If we see it's a duplicated tag, he's got the tag in his hand, we can figure out, we have ways to figure out if it really was that tag or not, then we can pass him off. But if not, he needs to explain why that tag is being used during some crimes. If a customer goes for a test drive, they need to use that salesman's dealer tag, and you can use a form, which I'll show you here in a second. Virginia has a DSD-27 form. It would be nice to have that uploaded online where if you want to test drive a car, salesman gives you the used dealer tag, you put on your car, he gives you a form to show to law enforcement in case you're stopped, and it's uploaded into the state system. So now if a law enforcement officer stops you, they can verify that you're supposed to have this car with this VIN, with this make and model, and you're allowed to have it for 5 days, 24 hours, whatever they checked on the box. Training, I feel like some of the folks need some training. I had a conversation with someone the other day, and I've seen it myself. You go into a dealership, these people are touching your social security number, your bank statements, your driver's license, your social security card, and then they take it and throw it in the trash can. Or they pass it on to a friend that we went down to Miami and talked about credit bust out fraud cases going on. They're taking your information and buying 10 cars tomorrow. And you don't know it until now the credit bureau contacts you and they bought these 10 cars fraudulently because they got your information from a trash can. I feel like there should be some education for some of the sales folks. The sales agent needs to be responsible for transferring their license and their plate to another dealership if they go there. You move from ABC dealership to DEF, you got to transfer your stuff over, and the dealership's responsible for notifying the state to say he no longer works here. Finance agent, we understand, I'm not a car salesperson, but most of the time you go buy a car, you see the salesman, and you go in the next office to see the finance person. The finance person is also touching your documents and stuff. Feel like there should be accountability as far as training. They too can have a plate that's assigned to them. It needs to be assigned to an individual so we can talk to that person. If they transfer back and forth, same thing, you notify the state, I'm transferring from this dealership to this dealership. We'd like to see them 16 hours of continued education, 8 in person, 8 online. The way I understand it now, one person from the dealership goes to the training and has to go back and share their information. We as law enforcement have to do so many years of training. Maybe they should try to do the same thing, just kind of keep you updated. Maybe we can work hand in hand and say, hey, look out for these trends. This is what we're seeing. The next person comes in there and tries to provide this type of documentation, maybe you should call us because we can help you out. They're trying to buy a car fraudulently. Let's work together. The dealership can have a license through the state to show that they're to operate, and if someone leaves, the financial agent or a salesperson leaves, then they cancel their stuff and tells the state. I want to touch on too the TOPS tag. I can't get anyone to answer the question, but I feel like if someone prints the top tag, that person should have a unique PIN number that they type in. So if we go back and say all these top tags were printed, who printed this top tag? You should say PIN number 1234, which is assigned to John Smith, is the one that printed it, not just this dealership. I want to know the person that typed that PIN number in and sat there and put their personal information in. If they shared it with someone, they got to answer that question as well. We're seeing lost tags. A dealership can get 5 tags, 10 tags, but it's assigned to that dealership for random test drives, go back and forth to the auction, but keep a log of it. If you hand this tag to a mechanic, he should give you his license or his information, whatever, you document it. So we come back 6 months from now and say, hey, this car and this tag was caught doing a burglary. Who had this tag? Well, that was mechanic so-and-so. Now we go talk to him. It's not, I don't know, or we're taking reports of 60 tags stolen out of somebody's office, and we took a stolen tag report for 60 tags. Tomorrow you're riding down the road because you went on a test drive and they didn't know they gave you the tag, and we're dragging you out of the car at gunpoint. Somebody's going to be upset because the tag on the car you're driving is reported stolen. So have one person as a representative keep those tags, keep a log so that can be checked over the last 2-3 years to go back and see who's driving that car. We come over the e-agent license. You want to work from home? Great. You want to sell cars from your house? You don't want to be into a small office building? Fine. But understand, we're not coming to your door. We're not going to knock on your door. You want us to come over and have a barbecue and talk about paperwork? Great. But we're not just going to show up at your house and come and do a random inspection. We're going to call you and say, hey, we need you to come here and let's talk about this. You don't answer our calls, we'll continue on the process. We'll just talk about here in a second. But the e-agent kind of falls under the sales agent, and the finance person should do some type of training. You have a PIN number assigned to you to print top tags. You have a dealer tag assigned to you and your dealership so we can figure out who this person is and who had it and who's driving the car. If you talk about other states, California has an application fee for a used car or new car dealer license salesperson for $50. They do fingerprints, background checks. Ohio, Pennsylvania, Colorado, Virginia. I'll harp on Virginia because right now they seem to have their stuff in order. I've seen a lot of good stuff from them. Have a great contact over there. They've given a lot of information, and they seem to be on the right track. This is their Virginia DSD 27 form. Kind of hard to see, but if you go for a test drive and you use the dealership's test drive or a dealer tag, you're filling this form out. Now I know that John Smith took this car on this date and time and was test driving it. If he gets stopped by law enforcement tomorrow, he can show this copy and say, I'm supposed to be driving this. And it shows in the system that you're going to have it for 5 days. Now, you can't just keep recirculating it to the same person over and over again because it should be uploaded to the state, and now you can search it and say, you had this car 2 weeks ago, why are you still driving it? You don't want to buy it, why are you still driving it? Same thing if a sales finance agent has multiple test drives. Obviously, you go to the dealership and say, I've already got one tag loaned out. Can I get a second tag? And now it's signed out to you in the book. So again, there's that accountability. The offenses and charges, we talked about the fees. Obviously, misuse of dealer tag, $500. The second time, $1,000, and we're going to cancel your hard plate and suspend it. The third time, the sales agent, finance agent license is suspended. You can't sell cars until you answer why your tag's being misused. Again, we're gonna look at making sure someone didn't duplicate your tag. We're not automatically say it's your tag, you did it, you're guilty. There's going to be a look in an investigation to figure out if this is really your tag or not being misused. The improper printing of top tags. Again, a PIN number shows that you printed it. The first offense, $500. The second offense, $1,000, or even you can be charged with a criminal offense of computer forgery. You forged that system to print those top tags for 15 people in New York. You didn't sell 15 cars in New York. Why are you printing those top tags? And then the third offense, your access is shut off by the state. The question's been asked, IP addresses for dealerships. How are these folks allowed to print top tags from other states? And then we come up on the Carvana question. If Carvana sells you a car, they bring you a car to you, but the documents for the paperwork, from what we're being told, is held in that state of Arizona or Montana, wherever it is. Then the question runs into, now the car is bought fraudulently, who does the police report? Because the documents in the sale electronically took place in Arizona or Montana. They're not going to do the police report. You have local agencies here that say, we're not going to do the police report. So who's doing the police report? No one does it. That car floats around stolen and unaccounted for. So maybe some IP addresses put in place in the state of Georgia, and like you said, a couple miles outside of Georgia, to say you're just across the line, but we're not going any further than that. Some of you were part of implementing the Motor Vehicle Crimes Prevention Advisory Board. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was great. I would love to see multi-jurisdictional task forces created with a trooper, Department of Revenue agent, DNR. People ask why, because they handle emissions. Didn't know that, but they're the ones that handle the emission stuff. You got a question about a emission station doing fraudulent, Department of Natural Resources handles that. A member of the Office of the Commission of Insurance and Safety Fire. I spoke at one of their conferences a couple weeks ago. Didn't realize that the hand-in-hand of going with the insurance fraud, insurance agents, insurance stuff for cars. It's great to have them on the team as well. And at least 5 or more deputies or officers from that district. You can do districts throughout the state, and then those folks are tasked with follow-up on vehicles, inspection of cars, inspections of dealerships, along with the used motor vehicle board. Have someone as a representative go out there and answer questions. Delegate the work. Don't just have one person doing it. I know of a Department of Revenue agent who's gone out so far this year and recovered 100 altered VIN stolen cars by himself. It's just one agent. So imagine if they had more people. Why not? Let's all work together, hold hands, and make it work. And network. Possibly have a director report back to the board with stats, intel, public education, and provide up-to-date training, keeping folks on the same page and working together. I just happen to know a guy. If you're interested, I got his phone number. Wink, wink. Inspections, random and unannounced. I get it to a certain extent. We obviously don't want to give you enough heads up to fabricate fake documents. We do have ways around those, but I feel like if we show up at the door, you're not ready, fine. At least we made the presence of, we're here, we're coming back in 5 days. Have your stuff together. Or come to our local district office. Way down in South Georgia, we don't expect you to drive to Macon or Atlanta, but you got a task force down there. Go to your local state patrol post, sit down, let's look at your documents and figure it out. If contact's not made the location on the first time, you leave a note. They should come back in the next 5 to 10 days. If they don't come back in 5 business days and reach out to you, you reach out by phone. The third attempt, a certified business letter is sent out to your address on file to whoever the registered agent is. If you haven't responded by then, everything's being shut off and your tag's being suspended. You can't do business until you sit down and talk to us and explain what's going on. I talked about Virginia State Police. They have the HEAT program, Help Eliminate Auto Theft. They are on it. They educate their citizens. They offer rewards. They sit down and work with local law enforcement. They have grant funding in place to send officers to training. Our International Association Auto Theft Investigators Conference last year, they sent 200 officers from Virginia down to Nashville to train. They are doing great. Obviously in Georgia we can't do HEAT because we have highway enforcement of aggressive traffic. So I did come up with Governor's Office of Auto Theft Task Force as a GOAT. If no one likes that, we could also roll with Hellcats, helping eliminate low-life criminals and their shenanigans, or CATS, combating auto theft successfully.
I like them all.
Yeah.
Just something to kind of roll with. I feel like we all are doing the same thing. Why not work together, hold hands, and sit down at the same table and work together? Not, I got to call this person, call this person. We have the law enforcement out there, work together. The quick conversation was brought about the license plate, digital license plate. Didn't know it, but it was passed. But this is just something to kind of think about. It's out there. You can put these on the car straight from the dealership. People can buy them. It's kind of stuck on here now, but there's a couple features I'll pass around. You want to check it out? When it's flagged as stolen, it'll say stolen. If someone takes it off, it says detached, no insurance. You can put UGA, you can put Florida, you can put Tennessee, whatever you want to do for your football team. You can change it as a user from an app on your phone and register your car. Do whatever you need to do. Your car is stolen, you can report it stolen. We want to catch up with the times. This is the way to catch up with the times. I don't expect everybody in the state of Georgia to pay the fee for it, but the option's there if they want to do it. I feel like we should let folks know that you can do this and put this in place. This is Arizona's temp tag. You could have this on the car driving on the lot. No need to print a top tag. Someone takes it off the car, it notifies the owner that someone stole their tag. 2 o'clock in the morning, you now know someone stole your tag, you can call the police. Most folks don't go to the back of their car and look at their car to see their tag's gone. They drive for 4 or 5 days before they finally realize it, and then they make a police report. Still want to push out the Shield VIN website, fraudulent VIN database. We're pushing out for law enforcement to share across the United States. Officers are inputting fraudulent VINs in there so that dealerships, DMVs, don't get caught holding the bag and looking at a car that has a fraudulent VIN that law enforcement is already looking at, and now they've taken possession of this car, they got on their lot. I hate to say it, but Carvana is getting hammered right now. They're getting 4 or 5 cars at least once a month taken off their lot that were sold to them with fraudulent VINs and paperwork, and some are being tracked down to people that have bought these cars, and they're being called by local law enforcement to say, the car you bought is not the real car, we need you to turn it back in, it's stolen. And I go back to our totals from last year. This is with free classes. Imagine what we could do of educating law enforcement and the public to work together, because at the end of the day, we're just trying to help out the people of the state of Georgia and other states, but we've got to protect these people so these folks don't go up to Facebook and buy a car and find out 6 months later when the Department of Revenue knocks on the door, the car you're driving is stolen. Other than that, if anybody has any questions, I can pass this around.
Sorry, but the cost on that tag,
I'm not sure. I'm
no,
gonna give you a rough guesstimate, about $500. Or they do a monthly payment plan where you can pay by the month, but at least it gives someone with the 57 Chevy or the 2025 Ferrari that wants to protect their car, they can actually track it from their phone. So if it's stolen, it's another safety feature as well.
Yeah, I think.
It's currently being used mostly in California and Arizona, and they have different options, different plans on their website to use it however you see fit.
Well, they can do the Amber Alerts on these
They
as
can
well.
do Amber Alerts,
which
put
is
everything out. If that car is
on
being
these
looked
tags.
at, they can put on there and say, hey, this car is looking at for Amber Alert. Everyone around it now sees it. You take it off, it says detached. You can't just go put on another car. It can't be used. It's disabled.
Have they been tampered with in these other states?
If it does, they take it off. It
Yeah, I
says,
mean,
oh,
somebody's gonna figure out how to.
someone is going to, I'm sure, but right now there hasn't been anyone to
They'll
manipulate.
counterfeit it for sure. But
I mean, I was just curious.
I haven't heard of anybody. I've talked to the owners and the people pushing the product out, of anyone manipulating the system yet to go into it and make any changes to it. And it's easily read by the LPRs. You can change the background to do black and white, white and black, whichever. They haven't had any issues with the license plate readers picking them up.
And it notifies folks about the insurance, is that correct?
It'll say no insurance for law enforcement to see. If you want that option, it could say expired. It could say stolen. If the car is stolen right now, the person realizes their car is stolen, they can go in there and put it. Police officer verifies it, and it turns the tag to say stolen.
all right. Any more questions for Sergeant Barber? Thank you again for that presentation. It was just as good as the first meeting.
I'll get you a copy of it.
A lot of information. I will print all that out. All right, I think now we'll jump to Department of Revenue. I'm going to ask, we got a pinch hitter, Joe Snowden, instead of Robert Worrell.
Is the PowerPoint on here? Am I able to plug my PowerPoint in here? Okay. I'm getting this load up. Thank you, committee members, chairman, for having us. What we're going to do today is sort of give a brief update on things we've been working on since the 551 implementation, as well as things that we've been working on from things we've heard within this committee, as well as just sort of a more general update on the back end on things that we're doing with our current resources that we have at our availability. Do you know which cord it is?
If you unplug the blue one.
Blue one? Perfect. Alrighty, we'll try this again. Awesome. So thank you for having us. What we're going to do briefly is just do another round of updates, things that we've heard within this committee, as well as things that we've had going on. So we'll start off with top design, talk a little bit about the 551 implementation, and then data sharing and enforcement. So Robert and our group have worked with the temporary operating permit dealers to go over some different size fonts, as well as some different aspects within the TOP that'll allow us to, prevent fraud, prevent these being laser scanned as much. We're currently talking about the pricing on that. Obviously, when you make something bigger and you make that kind of change, there is a price aspect to it.
Is it going to be more reflective where these LPRs to be able to read them at night? And that was the other issue we were having.
Yes. So both of that aspect as well is being considered. And I will have Robert, if you want to speak to it a little bit while you're on the committee, that would be worth it.
Right, so we did look at a lot of different states, and we looked also at different vendors to see what they offered in terms of security features. And so we're talking about that with our vendor right now. We have seen some providers who do have a reflective plate, TOP, and it's not commonplace now. It's something that they're kind of slowly trying to put out, but there's many options in terms of having security seals embedded in the paper, of course, standard watermarks, things of that nature, and also making the fonts bolder and the paper brighter so that it would be easily seen at night if lights are shining on them and things of that nature. So there's a lot of options out there in terms of the TOP security features.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. And just as I will always mention, those things do come with a cost, right? There's a cost associated with everything, and that is something to be considered. So jumping forward a little bit, so with TOPs, with 551, our ETR process to limit TOPs based on sales is fully online. So what we have done there is we'll display TOP limits and current counts on the dealer accounts, and provide updated messaging. So we've had, at this point, we've had some dealers who have, broken through their tops threshold. They've come to us. We've gotten that corrected pretty quickly and gotten them more tops for them to be able to continue vending. And in the same sense, we've seen a few cases where people are asking for tops but don't have the sales to back that up, and we've told them no. On top of that, so additionally with dealer plates, right, we've begun the process of sending out notification to dealers who have, a too large of amount of dealer plates to sort of rescind some of those, as well as we have started the process of requiring, the number of sales for renewal on registration of those dealer plates. So just working to sort of reduce those numbers as the bill is prescribed. Robert, was there anything you wanted to add to that? Perfect. Moving forward, we'll talk a little bit about numbers and Secretary of State's office. So we have had several meetings with the SOS. Luckily, there is already a data sharing agreement in place between DOR and the Secretary of State's office. So what we're working on right now is creating an e-services portal for them that is very tailored to what they will need, and as far as issuing these licenses. So that is what we can do within our capabilities currently, right? Obviously, there's talk about where this should be housed, but what we can do is provide them with as much information as possible from our systems to allow them to make informed decisions.
And what's the timeline to be able to do that? Could it take 6 months, a year to make that process happen?
I'll let Robert speak to that one.
Right, so it really does depend on the customization that we put in place. There are certain things that we could easily provide data in terms of, title information, ownership information. When we talked to Secretary of State's office, there was some reports that they wanted that we don't have available now, so we'd have to work through that. But it would be kind of mimicking other agencies that we have online on e-services that get access to our data. It's not very difficult, but it's really about talking through the customization.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. And then just some numbers from our auto crimes division, right? We have 3 to 4 agents that are putting out these numbers. So in the past 6 months, we've had 748 investigations, over 479 cases involving titles, cloned vehicles, stolen vehicles, or dealer tag ownership issues, 273 cases involving dealer complaints, offline vehicle ownership searches, locating wanted persons, and supporting for ongoing investigations. Once again, that's 3 to 4 individuals working through all of that. I'll additionally add that as far as training and outreach, in the last 6 months, we've worked with 37 different agencies for training, as well as training for over 600 students from this division, right? So we're doing what we can with the resources we have, but those number of auto crimes investigators and OSI investigators are limited to what we're appropriated for. So obviously we would love to see that expanded and growth within the division to crack down on more of this stuff, but that is not necessarily something that we have at the moment. Moving on, just wanted to do a little highlight of what's upcoming. So the America 250 license plate will be available on January 1st, and will be headed out to the counties, so I wanted to do a little plug for that. But really wanted to jump into questions, right? I know there have been a lot of discussions about a lot of different aspects of dealers, TOPs, e-dealers, e-services, and we want to be a resource for that. So any question that the committee has, we're happy to answer.
Number 22, Representative Matt.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it, Robert. I was certainly glad to hear that we're going to start sharing data between the Secretary of State's office and the Department of Revenue. But you mentioned something about that you had people that requested more of the temporary tags.
Yes, sir.
Could that be a part of when you share information with the Secretary of State that these people are requesting these things that might raise a red flag for them to make sure that they get an inspector out there? And I'm going to elaborate on inspector in just a minute. But is that something that can be done, Robert or Joe, in the system to say, okay, we got somebody that's trying to push the limit on this. We want to make sure that we address this and see if there's anything afile there.
Yes, that would be something that we could pretty easily do, because the requests that are coming in for us are online. They're through the dealer account. We also display the information to the dealers in terms of how many TOPs they have allotted and how many they've used up to that point. So any of that data could be easily shared.
Okay. Follow up. Well, I was just interested, you was talking about the new tags that would illuminate at night, you know, with the design on there, and you said there's a cost to it. Can you tell me what the cost is that the state of Georgia is missing out on all this fraud?
We've been asked that before. That is a hard number to pinpoint, but I'm sure that it is a sizable chunk of money.
Well, the reason I asked that question was, if we can show where we're losing so much money, it'll be worth the investment to make these to where you can read them at night. I got a feeling we'll get more people on board to help us get this done. So that just makes good common business sense if you invest in something that's going to reap us a benefit. But the last thing I'll say is, may I, Chairman?
Yes, sir.
The inspectors, it obviously seems that this is a very complicated business now that we got the traditionals and the e-commerce and these type things. Are very, very complicated. And I've mentioned this about several businesses in the state that needs to have specific inspectors. We need people that go out and inspect these that know a little bit about the business. There again, we may have to invest a little more, but we're going to return a lot more. And this is not the only licensing that I would love to see something change, but this is the one we're talking about today. So I would propose that we look at a thing where we get people who are qualified to go out if they see something, and we put teeth in when they go. If they're not there, get a subpoena or whatever it takes and have these people come back. And if they're not, they're put out of business. I mean, that's going to help the good ones, and it's going to put the bad ones out. We can't just go keep, like you, every time somebody talks, we can slap them on the wrist, but it does nothing, because they'll turn around and make more money the next time. But we shut them down, we got a chance. And if we have to invest more money, we just need to show what we're going to get for our investment. So that's the way I look at it. But I believe this thing can be fixed. You got a bunch of smart folks out here, and we got some ideas. But I just hope that we look at those three aspects and make sure we move forward to it.
To that point, when we started this a few years ago, Texas has a little bit ahead of us on this. They estimated in Texas it was costing them $200 million in Texas.
Well, and I'll
a
even
little bit bigger than Georgia, but they're not. The football team's not very good, but
I'll add in addition to that as well. I know that we're talking about state revenue as well, but local revenue is also impacted by this. I know that ACCG had this on their agenda list last year when we were pushing 551 through as something that not only state but also local revenues are hurting from.
Number 16.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really like to hear about the reforms y'all are starting to make with the tops already internally. I think that's great. So a couple questions related to the tops. Is it a regulatory reform or a legislative reform if you were to want to reduce the number of days that a tops is valid?
That would be a legislative reform.
Would be a legislative reform.
Yes, sir.
So, 1A then, if you wanted to do that, could you separate it out so that in-state dealers' tops are valid longer than out-of-state dealer tops?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, I think, Robert, it's currently the inverse in that situation, is that correct?
Some states don't even allow out-of-state tops.
Correct.
I mean, they give them a bill of sale, and they do have shorter windows for out-of-state, other states I've looked at. But Robert probably can.
No, I was just going to follow up with, it is the legislative change, and obviously, if it's the will of the legislature,
Sure.
we can.
I think out-of-state tops issuances are valid for 45 days now. Seems pretty crazy high, but that was one question. So thank you.
Well, and I'll add to, just as an informative piece, we've spoken on that point previously. The issue lies with the sale portion of what the TOP represents, right? The timeline to complete that sale. So while for us as an agency that is a purely administrative thing, I'm sure that the dealer associations would have a little bit more heartburn on that.
Thank you. Second question. So is it true that every dealer license is issued a set number of tops initially? And is it the same across the board?
So it's, I'll let Robert speak to that as far as the sales go, but.
Right, it does vary. It depends on, if you're an established dealer, it is going to be based upon your sales for the previous year. If you're a brand new dealer, then it depends. New car dealers are slightly different than used car dealers, but they all have access to request additional TOPs through our account process.
Well, that was my question. So it's a floating number based on previous year sales?
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, do we have any further questions for Joe? Joe, thank you, appreciate that presentation.
Absolutely.
And I think now we will, Chris Jones with the Secretary of State's office.
Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, it's good to be here. It's good to talk about this issue. As you know, it's a important issue. It's one we have to deal with a lot. I'm going to echo a lot of what's already been talked about today. What Derek and Jason have already talked about was separating the license between the traditional lot dealer and the e-commerce dealer. They have some requirements that are same, but they have a lot that are different from each other. So a second license type would help with that as far as setting different requirements for each type of dealer. The other recommendation I was going to make, because there's only two, I'm only going to talk about recommendations from the licensing side and from the compliance side, since the board is the entity who is responsible for compliance for used car dealers. As Robert was talking about, we've had conversations with the DOR regarding data sharing, and hopefully that will get implemented very quickly. But there's one problem with data sharing. Once we get that data, it's going to be a tidal wave of information coming in from the DOR. I have 4 staff members, and 2 of those staff members process license applications. The other 2 staff members work complaints. Resources are a problem. We talked about this before. Have to increase staff to handle all the information we're going to be getting from the DOR. I'll let you know, 551 goes into effect January 1st. That's also going to have an effect. It's going to increase our workload there. Presently, we have 10 inspectors, and we've had this conversation several times before. Those 10 inspectors are responsible for 25 to 30,000 different facilities that need to be inspected by the state every year. So they're stretched very thin now. Additional workload is going to stretch them even further. So again, it's the resources. Along with that, the used car is kind of a unicorn at the PLB. It's the only board there that doesn't issue occupational licenses. They don't license individuals to go do an occupation like nursing. Board licensed nurses, RNs, LPNs, APRNs. Other boards license individuals to go practice professions in their industry either. The used car board is the only one who doesn't license individuals. It licenses facilities for the sole purpose of oversight. And the issue with that is that with the complex nature of the paperwork, inspectors are stretched thin enough now that they don't have the time or the ability to do an audit on a dealer. Dealers need to be audited. Inspections are fine, but they need to have more in-depth audits. A normal inspection that we undertake is we'll pull approximately 10 deal jackets from a dealer. So 10 deal jackets, you're looking between 150 and 200 different documents that need to be looked at and audited. So we need a set of auditors to do that task, something more than just an inspector.
How many would that be? I mean, it would take 2, 4? I mean, if you get, I'm not going to hold you to that number. I mean, just if your opinion.
Starting out 2 or 3. I mean, I'll give you an example. The state of Florida, they have approximately 10,000 licensed dealers, 2,000 more than Georgia. They have 50 auditors on staff. We have none. So
0.
I mean, that's a comparison. So my other recommendation is going to be a significant investment in the resources required to do the type of oversight that's required for this profession. As I said, I only have 4 staff members that process used car. So, but as I said, I can echo in pretty much what everybody has already said here. Those are excellent. They've all made excellent recommendations today.
Okay. Can you speak to the, I guess the e-dealers now, where you show up to investigate and nobody's there? Well, I've heard anything up to give them 10 days to comply.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your thoughts there?
The video we saw that you presented earlier, that's every day of my life right now. It is. That's something we see all day, every day. And I wonder how long it took Harry to do that, because that's how we would have to do every dealer, chase them everywhere they go. We do not have the resources to do
moving
that.
around, trying to
I mean, it's
whack-a-mole, basically.
Yeah, it's in the rules now, in the statute now, that, and this goes back to my first point, they're brokers, dealers who work out of an office suite. It's in the law and it's in the rules that they can't display cars for sale. The problem is they get the same license as the guy who can display cars for sale. So it's in statute, but there's no teeth in it. So separating the license would fix a lot of that. So.
Okay. Number 22.
Chris, has it always been that we didn't have enough inspectors or auditors, or did the e-commerce thing explode and that caused, or has it always been a problem?
It's always been a problem, but it's exploded, in the recent years.
Okay.
With the growth of e-commerce, yeah, it's exploded.
So what you're telling me, we need a group of auditors.
Yes.
And we need a group of inspectors that know what to get and bring, so the auditors can keep up. And we need to budget that and that'd be strictly through the state Secretary of State's office.
It could be. It could
or
be.
does it? Does that mean you're going to need more in the Department of Revenue?
Well, I think
We always need more.
right.
Not going to turn it down.
Kind of talked about in the past. We also deal with auto crimes, and we're limited in terms of the agents that can respond to those type of auto crimes. So, I think the resource issue is widespread.
And you and I talked earlier, how much can this be done possibly with AI for the auditor that they can analyze the data? I mean, with VIN numbers, with TOPS that's issued, does it comply? Does it match up with a legal VIN number? All that can be done possibly in the drives that wouldn't require a.
I feel confident that the technology is available for us to do stuff like that. Just paying for the technology to do stuff like that. That's the issue. But I'm sure a lot of that can be handled through AI. But you still gonna have to have eyes on a lot of this stuff, especially. They're crafty. I mean, some of these leaders can be very crafty with how they do their paperwork, and I think AI wouldn't catch a lot of that stuff. But as far as number to number, I believe that for sure. There's technology out there to do that.
Number 16.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So two things. First, we have dealer licenses at all of our Georgia locations, and we just got our most recent one at our Norcross facility, and we had a hell of a time getting it. But every single time it was kicked back to my team, it's because there was an application deficiency. So I just wanted to credit you and your team for doing as much work as you could on the front end to validate the legitimacy of these operators, knowing that your bandwidth is so limited on the back end. So y'all did a great job, and I appreciated it, especially having been a part of this, knowing now what I know. I really appreciated the work y'all did.
I mean, we're constantly working on the new software system. We should have an AI reader up very soon who can automatically read those documents, so we don't have to have staff eyeballing it. So
that'll help. They did a great job, though.
They're limited, but we try our best.
My question is not going to be an exact question, but so as I have learned about this industry and the e-commerce part of this industry especially, blows my mind that we have dealer licenses issued to out-of-state operators, and they don't have any in-state bona fides. Do you think it's a good idea that any business that's licensed to operate as a dealer in Georgia has a Georgian as a designated agent? It feels to me, anytime we open an auto recycling facility in another state, we have to have a registered agent in that state that lives in that state, that passes background checks in that state, and that is civilly and criminally on the hook for anything that we do wrong. And so it seems to me like that just makes sense.
It does. We've been asking for that for a while, to the residency requirement. So that's a legislative change. Georgia does not require the designee to be a resident of the state of Georgia.
Thank you. Number 17.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chris, for your honesty. I know that was difficult for you to stand up there and talk about reticently about the state of the staffing levels that we have in the office. And I'm not quite as shy about that because, quite frankly, it's not just in this division. Y'all need to know it's widespread. I mean, our staff is just stretched to the limit. We're talking a lot about complaints and just regular licenses, but aren't you also required to inspect all these operations annually?
We're not. There's not a statutory requirement to inspect them annually. Dealers, there's not. I'm glad there's not, because we would never meet that.
Right.
But there's not. Some professions there. I think funeral requires, and it's in the law requires an annual inspection for a funeral home.
Well, our inspectors are doing multiple theories,
Yes.
right? They're not just limited to this one area. In your shop alone, they're doing cosmetology operations, and what else are they doing?
Cosmetology and barbers, and used motor vehicle dealers and parts dealers.
And funeral homes.
No, that's another, that's a
That's
different
another
section.
one, okay.
But 95% of the inspections go to me. in my
Okay,
section.
okay, and you're doing that with a staff of 4 people, and, okay, that cover all that,
Just
right?
use car.
Just
I
use
have
car?
a different staff that does cosmetology.
Okay.
And it's small too.
Well, that's
but-
good news. That's good news. We'd be happy to put together some legitimate numbers of what we think it would take to do this right, if the committee would like to have that information.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll huddle and get together on that and get you that data. But I just really want to emphasize that these folks do a great job with the resources that they're given. They're far, far overworked of what they should be constitutionally required to do. And I want to thank you for that.
I want to add to something that you're saying.
Okay.
Everybody thinks that the Professional Licensing Boards Division is just about licensing. Over half of my staff works complaints, and nobody talks about those, as Liz was saying. So I'm not going to talk for every other section, but the majority of my staff is working on complaints and compliance. They don't even touch a licensing application. So
Yeah.
that's why we're taxed.
Yeah, we'll be happy to provide you some details on that.
Thank you. Number 22, Representative Mays.
Well, I agree. I thank you for what y'all do under the circumstances, and it's tough, and I appreciate those comments. But if you could, since you're working on numbers, if we could figure out a number that we think the state of Georgia is losing because of this fraud in this situation, I would like to know if we could come to some, and that'll help us, I think, in the future, when we start asking for more to combat this. Because we've done that in other areas and other parts.
It would be almost impossible to come up with an accurate number, but this is something that's the biggest complaint I get from my inspectors, because they're out in the field and they see this when they go to a dealer. This is something that the DR really doesn't see. I mean, they know it's happening, but they don't see the volume that is happening. But TABT fraud is just as bad, if not worse, than TOPS. TOPS is bad, and it's a lot worse than we actually think it is, I think. But the amount of TABT fraud that we see in the field it would blow your mind how much there is. I mean, I would be surprised ever since TABT went into effect, 13 years ago? If they haven't lost $100 million because of it.
So if we stop some of this, we can justify the extra staff that it takes to do it.
We could hire 2 or 3 for $100 million,
That's
I'm
what
sure.
I'm trying to, that's what I'm trying to get at.
I'm not going to step on revenue's toes about that, but from what we see in the field, it's pervasive.
It's just
pervasive.
It just makes good business sense, in my opinion.
All right. Any more questions? I can see it in his eye.
Will we have a chance before this is over? I have one more that I forgot to ask my Department of Revenue friend.
Absolutely. I asked Joe to come back up, and
if now's the time.
Now would be the time.
I'll take it. Yes.
For all good men.
This is may have been asked and answered, but I still it eludes me. It seems like the technology exists today, probably through an iPhone, to register a dealer plate with a VIN. For instance, the dealer plate's going out with the Cadillac on a test drive, and you can just pop it into an app and register it with the VIN. And it's good for 12 hours. And then it's going to expire, and you got to re-register that dealer plate with whatever VIN it's supposed to be connected to. And I don't think that's a legislative fix. I feel like it could be. I will ask you that. But it seems like that would surely be a low-hanging fruit that would solve a lot of these problems.
And so just to make sure that I understand, so you're talking about like dealers going on test drives, the same way we saw with the Virginia model that kind of popped up there, where they fill out a form to do it, but just doing that electronically.
It's on an app. And so maybe the dealer wants to drive the car home for the night. And fine, put the dealer plate on the car you're going to drive for personal use, but just know in 12 hours you're going to have to re-up that designation so that when Sergeant Barber's rolling behind you, that plate's connected to the Cadillac CTS. It seems like all of that would be instant.
And so I don't know a ton about app development, I'll be honest. But what I would say is we have the drive system that has VIN information in it, right, and plate information within it, right? I don't want to guess that we can make them talk that way 100% without Robert stopping me. But what I will say is, and this kind of alludes to the AI portion of what we were hearing earlier, right? We're trying to make any tool available that we can, right? So I don't think we've had that idea before, but it's certainly something that we can.
And you're talking about making this real time. I mean, do it, you know, like QR code.
Yes.
You're good.
That's exactly right. And I feel like in this day and age, it's something we could pull. That's something we could pull off. And it would help law enforcement tremendously.
Definitely.
If you're telling me this was my original idea, then I'm flattered. And
You
I
might have had
appreciate
an original idea, and you might go ahead and need to put a copyright in, because somebody listening to this may come up with the same idea right now.
that.
So
Give it to my Uncle Corbett.
You got a good last name, is what it is.
I will let Robert have a moment, though, if there were any additional thoughts that you wanted to put on top of that.
No, I mean, I think you kind of touched on it. I mean, that's not something that I think has been brought forth before, but it's certainly something we could think about. I don't know if there's legislation to require dealers to do this process, but, you know, we'll certainly take it back and discuss it.
Thanks,
And it sounds like we can look at Virginia, what they did with their DD 27 form. What was it?
I agree. Make it online.
Yeah.
Upload it. You go in there, click a button, scan the VIN, put it online, and you're good for 12 hours. But I do think you need a limitation of not doing the same car for the next 3 years. Again, if you can explain to me as a dealership why you can drive a car for 300,000 miles and still make money on it, great. But I feel like after about 6 months, or like you said, the 30, 60, 90, a certain time period, you're done with that car. You can't use it anymore. Go to your next car.
All right, thank you. Does anybody else have anything for the good of the committee? Chairman Powell, you've been mighty quiet today. You okay?
I said I was going to be quiet today and listen, and that's what I've listened to.
You have. I'm worried about you. All right, anybody else in the audience? We got a few minutes, would like to speak. Yes, and I I forgot to, didn't have you on the agenda. Tell us your name and who you're with.
I'm Friedrich Mattis.
Friedrich, just.
How do I stick this in?
He's trying to jump drive. Yeah. You don't have any more top tags for us, do you?
Unfortunately, I don't. Or actually, I should say, fortunately, I don't have any more. Do you know how this works? Will the PowerPoint just pop up? Okay, and then I just pushed it up and down. Yeah. Well, I thought today.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought today we had a lot of good suggestions. Amazingly constructive today. So many really good suggestions. And I think the best one is really the idea of having 2 separate licenses, because there are so many different things that, from a regulatory point of view, you could solve and figure out if you have 2 separate licenses and have 2 sets of rules. Another one, sales agent. I think that's also a brilliant idea. I've yet to understand how it takes someone 2 years of training to cut my hair, yet selling a car, which is something really complicated, no training whatsoever. Anybody can just walk into a dealership, get a job and selling a car, and has no idea what they're doing. Electronic tags, I think same thing. That's also a very good idea. Also tracking electronically, that's how we know if somebody is using the tag for a personal vehicle or if they're using it legitimately, attempting to sell the car. Resources at the DAD, at the Secretary of State's office. I can tell you that I've experienced the issue with inspectors. We report dealers that are no longer dealers at our building, and then we will follow up and then discover that nothing happens. In other words, we report it to the inspectors. We had an inspector at our building just a few days ago, and she actually showed us that on her, I don't want to call it an iPad, but her tablet, she inputs that a dealer is no longer at the facility. But then if we go look at the Secretary of State's website, it's still an active dealer. And that dealer is trying to contact us to to give him tags or tag renewal stickers that were mailed to somebody at their former address, which we refused to do, of course. So that definitely we need more help in Macon, unquestionably. I did want to bring up DD Auto Sales. That is indeed one of my buildings, and that DD Auto Sales. That gentleman is not the owner of the business; it's a lady. So I think, I'm not sure, but I think the lady that owns DD Auto Sales is girlfriend or wife of the person that was committing the fraud. By my lease terms and by the zoning of Peachtree Corners, they're not allowed to park the cars at night, so they don't. And that's as far as I could go with it. I say, you cannot park the cars here. And you can only bring one car at a time that you're selling. You can't bring a whole group. And it was an ongoing battle with that one dealer tenant. City of Peachtree Corners, we actually met them in July with the tenant, told them, again, they got another warning and a fine. Complied for a few weeks and went back to his old game. I, in the meantime, given eviction notice because I don't want a troublemaker, and hopefully, I think he's just disappeared on his own because he's probably under criminal investigation. Hopefully, as he should be. Tops tags. I think last time I talked enough about that, and I think everybody else here has already made a lot of points about the tops tags. The main thing I wanted to really discuss today was comparing the cost of ownership of a vehicle, whether you own it privately or through a dealership. So a lot of people are coming forward and trying to saying that people will get a dealer's license for the sole purpose of avoiding sales tax. It's the biggest nonsense. It doesn't happen. It does not happen for the sole purpose. So I went through, if you can see, I went through the expenses. My personal vehicles, Porsche Taycan Turbo S, Porsche Boxster S, and a Subaru Outback. And you can guess the Subaru is my favorite car. So purchasing those vehicles, a total of $200,000. Sales tax on that was $16,000. So, what I wanted to do is, I'm in the full position of being a dealer and fraudulently keeping my personal cars. It makes no financial sense whatsoever. None, not even close, not even close. So the private ownership, the sales tax is $16,000. I got a quote for, sorry, wrong direction, from Progressive Insurance. And the writing looks really small on there. Progressive Insurance on those three vehicles with my driving record comes out to $2,714. What I wanted to do was compare on a 3-year ownership of vehicles what that would mean. So 3 years of insurance come out to $8,142. For me to privately own that insurance is $24,000. Now let's look, if I would have created my dealership 2 years ago and owned those cars as a dealer using only dealer tags, just to do all of the setup of the company, and it's about around $2,000. That's assuming that I do it myself. I don't pay a consultant to do it, which a lot of dealers do. And then it unfortunately, because of, I guess, not enough people working in Macon, it takes the average dealer about 5 months to get their license. So you have to pay rent, insurance, and phone service for 5 months. So basically, to get a license is $6,600. Rent, $350 a month for 3 years is $12,800. Insurance, I got an actual quote from insurance company that does probably 30% of the dealers at my buildings, to actually cover the vehicles, not just the liability, is for $200,000 in value of inventory is $13,000. So it's almost $40,000 in insurance costs over 3 years. And also, that's only with a liability of $125,000. And if you have a car that goes from 0 to 60 in 2.4 seconds, you're not going to have a $125,000 liability unless you're really stupid. So the Progressive actually has $250,000. So it's double the liability coverage on the Progressive policy that I could have in my own personal name. And then if you look at phone service over a 3-year period, $85 a month is $3,060. Certain jurisdictions, such as Gwinnett County, would have an inventory equipment tax that would be $4,500. So for me to own those 3 vehicles for 3 years cost me $66,000 as a dealer. If I do it the way I did it, which I had both options, $24,000. Now, any sane person would get a dealer's license. Why would you do that? It literally costs $40,000 more to get a dealer's license to fraudulently use those dealer tags. It makes no sense at all. That's why every time I hear someone, last time when a gentleman gave the presentation with the tags, I always say, it's coming from a family of scientists, the data suggests there's fraud, but it needs further study. The further study should be take those pictures. In fact, last week, I wanted to give the presentation. I said, let's send somebody out and take pictures of cars they think are fraudulent, then go to the Department of Revenue and look who owns those tags and see if those companies are selling cars or not. And I am not a betting person. Again, it's not logical to bet unless you know you're going to win. I literally would bet that the vast majority of those tags are either complete fraudulent tags, in other words, not dealer tags, but fraudulent tags, or from large-scale dealers that have brick and mortar. One of my assistants, and she was here last time, she worked for 4 different dealerships in Cobb County where they have really high-end cars. It's just routine and totally legal. They will drive those expensive cars home. I mean, I know some people think, oh, people don't want to drive their expensive inventory, but sorry, that's what people do. They take their expensive cars and they drive them home. But so, I mean, I don't see how anyone can financially argue that somebody is going to save money by getting a dealer's license and then not paying sales tax. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, the numbers are crystal clear unless you do some very stupid things like not covering your vehicle. So, but who's going to have a $200,000 car, even a $100,000 car, and not cover their car if there's an accident and it's their fault? It's just, I mean, no sane person is going to do that. Now, there is, of course, the possibility that there are people that will get a dealer's license and they say, oh, yeah, I definitely want to drive the cars and I'm going to be selling them. But you have to sell a good volume of cars to be able to afford to do that. And so, I mean, that's basically the main thing I just wanted to bring up. I'm sorry, I'm not a very good public speaker. I get very nervous.
Me too.
No, everybody else here is great except me.
No.
I mean, there was One other thing I did was just wanted to bring up, just so that people have an idea, because I think at the other meeting, people were talking about how the turnover of these types of dealers. I'm a commercial landlord, so I have buildings that have no car dealers at all because they don't have the proper zoning. So I have buildings in Cobb County and Clayton County, and we did analysis of how long people are. I think it's supposed to be months. I'm sorry, it's a typo. That's a typo, how long they've been there. Sorry, that's a typo, 0 to 6 months. What percentage? So what happens, so you can see in the first year, it's a fairly high percentage of startups. In my other buildings, the ones in Cobb and Clayton, there are also a lot of startup businesses. But as you can see, very, very, very high turnover in the first year. So people get their license, they want to get the license, and then they give up. They never sell a car. And but if you look at how many people have been dealer tenants for more than 3 years, which is really I would say the benchmark of when your business has succeeded, 55% of the dealers have been at the building for more than 3 years. And some of those that are less than it may have been at other buildings as well. But then if you compare that to, for example, in Clayton County, I only have 29% of my tenants in that building, which are also all startup, non-dealer type businesses, after 3 years. So the success rate of other types of businesses is much lower than for the e-commerce auto dealers. And in my Cobb County buildings, they have a lot of attorneys, so that's why the number of more than 3 years is very high. And I guess that's basically what I really wanted to say. But I think that a group of people here, everybody's given a lot of really good suggestions, and I think if you work together, we can come up with some really good regulations that will help all of the dealers and not destroy all of the dealers because there's a handful of really bad apples. Nobody wants those. I don't want to have to sit here and defend somebody that's in one of my buildings that did something wrong. And always bear in mind, I have 1,000 car dealers as my tenants, and so inevitably some of them are going to be bad. I mean, that's what 15 or 20% of all the dealers in the state of Georgia.
All right, well, thank you.
There was one thing I wanted to add, something that probably should be banned in the state of Georgia. I had it on my phone. I researched when we were talking about DD. You can go online and buy for $300 a piece of equipment that will change an odometer. So it's super simple for people to commit fraud. For some reason, it's not illegal to sell. They say the legitimate shops have to be able to repair odometers. I say don't allow that. Make them replace an odometer. Don't repair it, because what it means is anybody for $300, they can buy a gadget that can change an odometer on almost any car there is.
Obviously, they can do it because we've seen that on the news report.
Yeah,
I think it is illegal for them to do that now, but I don't think the
I'm sure it's
fine
illegal
is stiff enough to
and I did more research. Carfax says that in the state of Georgia, 70,000 cars a year have odometers changed. 70,000, and it occurs through all types of business models. But thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't see any questions, but I think Jason Reeves has something to add.
I want to turn this to a question, and I want to ask Robert a question. With the current system that you have, would it be possible, one of the things that we do every night as a software company is we ship data all over the world, really, for automobiles. Why could we not ship it to the Department of Revenue and show every night every vehicle that's in stock for a dealership?
I think that kind of goes to some of the information that he's talked about. Receiving data, we do that now from various entities. It wouldn't be something that's certainly impossible. It's just hasn't been done yet. So we could receive it and discuss how we would handle, looking at that data. If there's things that we need to turn over to
Well,
You
it
know,
would
law
certainly-
enforcement or?
It would certainly show if a vehicle matched a dealer tag. If I'm driving this VIN number and, whatever Rick's Auto Sales is the one that's showing as the owner of the vehicle with the Department of Revenue, then law enforcement pulls it over, they pull it up, and they see that that dealer tag does belong to that car, and that kind of eliminates all the questions. And the other thing that you do concerning, I know one of the big things is TAVT, with the, I can't remember which senator it is that keeps bringing this up, but if I've got a 911 GT3 that's been in my inventory for 2 years and I'm still driving it on a dealer tag, then the data's right there because it's being shipped to the Department of Revenue every night.
Well, I will say that in the move to e-title, as many states are
Which we
looking
love.
forward to, there are states that are requiring dealers to electronically title all wholesale vehicles, so
That'd
that
be
they
great.
have a record of those transactions. We've thought about that in terms of our future e-title process. To me, that makes complete sense to be able to track that vehicle from dealer to dealer. So I think that would fall in line with what you're talking about.
I think one of the things that you would find if you did that is that jumping titles on the back of the assignment forms would be eliminated, because as a reputable dealer, I would not accept a vehicle unless I had seen a lineage of wholesales that got to my dealership instead of, someone duping a title reassignment form.
Explain jumping titles.
I'm sorry. So if you've got, if I buy a vehicle, we'll say we're all car dealerships right here for a second. So I buy a vehicle or trade in a vehicle, and when I sell it, I'm going to wholesale it to Kim. And on the back of the title or on a separate title reassignment form, I am supposed to sign off as the selling dealer, and Kim would sign off as the buying dealer. It is currently a $250 fine if that is not done, but you have to catch it in act. Kim is a very unscrupulous person.
For sure.
She is going to she's going to roll back the odometer, and then she's going to take it to pull apart, and she's going to sell it to them. But what she's not going to do is she's never have signed the back of the title, so it's going to look like he bought the car from me.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, sorry. Yep. So anyway, I think every dealership in this state would love that concept.
And that would, I forget the gentleman, I think it's the Engelman that testified the first meeting about the buses that they were doing with DOT or trucks or state trucks they were buying and not retitling.
Sure.
That would fix that. So, number 14, don't go anywhere. I think you got issues.
Oh, Kim's mad at me.
I would like to clarify that I do have scruples, and I'm not unscrupulous. That's it.
That's it. Okay. All right.
All right. I appreciate everybody's attention. Appreciate the questions. I think we've got a lot of suggestions here we can look at, and then we'll try to get together and formulate recommendations. But at this time, unless anybody has anything else, the meeting is adjourned. And we got through early, so thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.